Is that okay?
I'm ready.
Test.
Okay. Welcome. This is the September 21st, 2021 council meeting for September. Beth.
Allworter,
Here.
Frankel,
Here.
Sog,
Here.
Turner,
Here.
Welsh,
Here.
Whitney.
Here.
Could somebody make a motion to excuse Councilmember Steinbrink?
So moved. I'll second that.
Allworter,
Yes.
Frankel,
Yes.
Sog,
Yes.
Turner,
Yes.
Welsh,
Yes.
Whitney.
Yes. Next is minutes from the council meeting of August 10th, 2021.
I had an edit on the third page.
Speak into the microphone.
On the third page, it's a long paragraph, starts out with Chief Minicello provided. And if you go down, it's the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8th line from the bottom, normal this year, period. Councilman Member Turner noted the Mayfield Road and Chagrin River Road construction making it difficult to run traffic. I guess we want run traffic stops. Is that what's difficult, Chief? Traffic enforcement. And then the next sentence, Chief Minicello noted it's hard to run traffic enforcement.
That's probably what he said.
Yeah.
There was one other that I noted, a small edit on the top of the page. It says contractor to come in and assist. And about midway down, it says the next step will be to publish in an invitation.
What page are you on?
Well, that's hard to say. That'd be 1, 2, 3, 4. About midway down. Should say the next step will be to publish an invitation, not in an invitation.
Speak into your microphone, Larry. We can't.
So it's where the paragraph starts with Councilman Atwater, noted council had approved an
In the
agreement.
7th line.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That in should not be there on the 7th line. The next step will be
The
to
first
publish
in.
an invitation in the pink sheet.
Any other corrections?
There's one on page 9, second paragraph. Lucy Chamberlain, Sherman Road. Instead of Sherwin.
The second paragraph. First full paragraph.
We gotta number these pages. Sherwin, it's Sherman. We'll number the pages. I think that'll help us too.
I guess typographic errors, it's good if you can just email them to me or let me know
Okay.
ahead of time.
Okay.
And, things that are gonna change the content of the minutes. We want to do more in the meeting.
Okay.
Move to approve as noted.
Second.
Allworter,
Yes.
Frankel,
Yes.
Sog,
Yes.
Turner,
Yes.
Welsh,
Yes.
Whitney.
Yes. Next is pay ordinance 1253 for $291,726.96.
Move approval.
Did we get a second? Ed?
Second.
Allworter,
Yes.
Frankel,
Yes.
Sog,
Yes.
Turner,
Yes.
Welsh,
Yes.
Whitney.
Yes. Next is our financial statement, Steve.
Good evening. This is the treasurer's report. Good evening. This is the treasurer's report dated September 19th of 2021. The financial statements were distributed to the mayor, the clerk, and council in advance of this meeting. The village is on very solid financial footings. August was a good month with general fund revenue of $902,000, exceeding expenses of $882,000 by $20,000. In August, the village collected $773,000 of real estate taxes and $95,000 of municipal income tax. Also in August, the village paid $280,000 for police, fire, service, and administration, and transferred $600,000 to other funds primarily the capital improvement fund, as had been budgeted. For the 8 months year-to-date, the general fund revenue exceeds expenses by $2.487 million. Revenue from real estate taxes and municipal income taxes are favorable to budget for those 8 months. Expenses are on or near budget, with most variances attributable to the timing of payments. The general fund cash balance is $7.6 million at the end of August, representing over 12 months of operating needs. At this time, and if the revenues and expenses follow last year's pace, the village could complete the calendar 2021 year with the current year 21 operating surplus in excess of our planned surplus of $777,000 for the general fund. Again, the village is on solid financial footing, and the surplus in 21 can be used and available to use in 22 and future years. As mentioned last month, and I will probably say this every month, the books of the village are maintained on a cash basis. There can be large variances based on when cash is received and when expenses are paid. Month over month and year over year, it would not be unusual to have one surplus in one period and a shortfall the next period. As mentioned in my report last month, I've spent time in September reviewing the Long Range Planning Committee report of September 2020, roughly a year ago. There are many revenue and expense options noted in that report. Those options need to be evaluated for the current environment and to address a longer-term imbalance between future revenue and expense forecasts. We'll undertake this evaluation with the involvement of the Budget and Finance Committee, which will convene in early October. My report will be posted on the village website as an ongoing matter of transparency and good governance. Thank you. Any questions? Happy to answer them.
Thank you, Steve. Next is Mayor's report. I've got a few announcements. Thank you to everyone who has sent in requesting to be to help with the master planning process. Chip and Sandra will be co-chairs on this, and I'll start working on this hopefully the end of this month or into October. They'll start and get with CT consultants who will be organizing and giving us direction. Tomorrow night is Candidates Night here, sponsored by our Improvement Society. It will start at 7 p.m. The event will be taped, and it will be on the Improvement Society website for anyone to view in the future. The shredding day is this Saturday from 9 until 12 here at the Community House. And then we have some thank yous from this one I want to read. This is Dear Mayor Schneider. This letter is being sent to acknowledge the kindness shown me by Chief Robinson. While cycling on Sunday, August 8th, I was caught in torrential downpour and tried to seek shelter. He saw me sitting on a bench and immediately took me to the community center. He made me feel welcome and at home. I wanted to send this because I was extremely touched by the neighborly gesture. My compliments to the City of Gates Mills Fire and Police Departments and all first responders. Regards, Michael Mancuso, MD.
Very nice.
Very nice. We got quite a few of them. This one is Chief Minicello. Thank you for support of Orange Community Center Safety Town. We appreciate your help. And Patrolman Newsom provided. There's another patrolman listed here. Was it? Pardon me? Okay. Officer Hetka and Patrolman Newsom. The week was successful. We appreciate your help and dedication to the kids. We look forward to continued support of Gates Mills Police Department at our Safety Town next year. And that's for Betsy, the Safety Town Coordinator. We got a thank you from Keith Kelly for supporting Mayfield City Schools. Next is clerk's report.
Just one thing to report. During the first few days of the new school year, our school resource officer, Arch, I had the privilege of seeing him and 2 or 3 other children playing chase serpentine on the playground. And by the time I went to take a picture, it was done and over with. So no pictures, I'm just can tell you about it. This is a great thing, really is.
Nice, always nice to hear. Committee reports.
I have a safety committee report. On September 8th, we had a meeting focusing on Mayfield Road. As you might be aware, there are 2 problems that we have on Mayfield Road. One being accidents from people running red lights, and the other problem we have is speeding. The red light issue has been taken care of, we hope, with the reconstruction of Mayfield, adding the turning lane and the change of the median strip, and also the timing of the lights with sensors that will be installed that will measure the speed of the traffic. And if someone can't stop, the red light on the adjacent side will be held red so that the traffic can go through without causing an accident. The other problem is speeding on Mayfield. It's very difficult for our officers during rush hour to patrol that area. There's nowhere to stop cars. And in the past few years, we've lost 2 police cars, and we had 1 officer injured and out of work for almost 2 years. We had a presentation by the Gatso group. It's a group that does traffic safety solutions, and they're proposing traffic cameras for Mayfield Road. In your packet, you'll see a description of what was discussed. I think the most amazing thing is that in a 24-hour period, there's approximately 18,000 cars that go down Mayfield, and about 1,500 or more are going over 60 miles an hour, and some over 70 and even faster. So this company will be presenting at our next meeting. We'll have a proposal from them, and they'll be discussing how the cameras work. Each violation is a civil violation. They take care of all the bookkeeping, sending out the citations, collection, et cetera. And so Dorian from this group will be here next time and present.
I was wondering if it would be possible to attach the ODOT summary of the traffic to your report from the safety committee, since it was presented there for the minutes and it could be on the website.
We will do that.
I
definitely.
really thought that was so
Yeah.
important, and I thought the presentation was terrific.
And what's also interesting, the ODOT statistics were from 2019, but we asked our chief to send someone out there and try to confirm the results, and we found that it's very accurate. So, and we'll get that put
Thank
onto the
you.
website.
Yeah, I'd like to have it in the minutes if that's possible, since it's from the minutes of the safety committee meeting.
Yeah, I'll scan that and send it to Janet. And
Thank you.
would that be okay, Janet? You could, okay,
Is that all right?
that's my report.
Any other committees?
Yes, I'd like to report on the completion of our ad hoc committee to evaluate the village engineer function. This committee comprised myself, Larry Frankel, Dave Biggert, Tim Reynolds, and then 2 citizens, 2 residents, Mark Salzman and Tony Panzica. As I've mentioned in some prior council meetings, we approached 4 engineering firms, including our own firm, Chris Courtney, the firm of C.W. Courtney, and the other 3 firms that represent or work with Hunting Valley, Moreland Hills, and Mayfield Village. We felt that engineering firms that sort of know our topography and climate was important, and all 3 of those communities felt very positive about their village engineers or engineering firms. We went through an extensive evaluation. Unfortunately, one of the firms, the firm that works with Moreland Hills said something very interesting. They said, since you're including interviewing your current engineer, which we understand, but we don't feel it's really beneficial for us to spend time because 99% of the time we find that the communities stay with their own engineering firm. Interesting, a good guy, and we met with him, Dave and I, for quite a while. But, so we did evaluate two other firms. One was a much larger firm called GPD. They represent many of the communities on the east side. In fact, Northeast Ohio. They're actually very big nationally. They're headquartered out of Akron, I believe. And then we interviewed a firm that was much smaller, Stephen Ovancik and Associates, that work with Mayfield Village and a few other communities. The effort was really very interesting. In addition to the six of us on the committee, the mayor attended. I did learn in the process that it is the mayor's decision to decide hiring a professional services firm. So this is not something that needs a council vote, but I think it's important that council know what we did. We looked at both the kind of services that they offer, who would represent the firm. We tried to look at expense, whether there was any material difference, whether if we went with a different firm, we might end up saving money. And we also tried to analyze and understand each firm's ability to try to obtain outside funding. And I will tell you that at the end of the day, first of all three firms would be very qualified. The sense is that we get very good service from Chris Courtney. In fact, he's pretty much on the job 24/7. But I will say that the other firms, their reputation, we did talk with those communities and they feel that they get very good service as well. It looks like all the firms know where to go for money for funding from outside. And, there is no real favoritism. It's not because one firm knows a particular government entity any better than another. It's all pretty much formulaic. And, there's an art to how you propose your projects, et cetera. But when we looked at data, it looked like C.W. Courtney was as good as what we were seeing from other communities with what the other firms did. We looked at the total annual fees charged for the firms and other communities, and nothing stood out in that regard. So the net conclusion was, if we wanted to go with a smaller firm, where there might be some projects or issues over the course of a year that would require the small firm to reach out to effectively subcontract, that would compare Ovancik with Courtney. And we felt we're getting excellent service from Courtney. Again, Ovancik would have been fine, but no reason there to change. If we thought that going with a larger firm, that you would have perhaps more expertise, that could be an option. But the net conclusion was, quite frankly, it's not a cop-out, because we talked about it at length, that it's the mayor and Dave Biggert can be comfortable staying with Courtney, or if they felt a need, that they could go with GPD. And their conclusion was that while they were very impressed with GPD, they're also very happy with the service from Courtney. We are going to work on a new contract with his current agreement, technically comes up at the end of this year. And there's a few changes that we're going to talk about with Chris. One is how the firm bills for projects. We did find a difference in how firms approach that. One approach is a percentage based on the nature of the project. So if it's a $100,000 road project, the fee might be, 8% or something like that. I don't mean to put a specific number to that, but just giving you an example. Whereas some firms just estimate how many hours of engineering work they think will be involved and quoted on that basis. And there might be some merit to that. We've talked with Chris about that, and he's very amenable to pursuing that if that's something that we want to do. We do have a retainer, an annual retainer with the Courtney firm. It's maybe comes in about 30,000 a year. We talked about whether that might be better to go on an hourly basis. And there's maybe you could save a couple of dollars. It didn't jump out that would be necessarily a big opportunity. And there is a lot of merit to when you pick up the phone, you don't have the meter running on the other end every time you have a phone call. And Chris did give documentation to the committee that the hours that he spends exceed what he would normally have done if he charged on an hourly basis on the retainer. So instead of the retainer. So we don't feel a big need there. And the only other topic was with so much government money potentially starting to flood the economy, obviously the infrastructure and the 3.5 trillion have not been approved at this point, but and there is some money that's still, already been approved coming our way that we want to be very mindful whether there are other areas where we might be able to get funding that might be outside traditional channels. The initial, it looks like that most of that money, if not all of it, tends to come through the traditional channels, which were, again, with Courtney, he's very familiar with those, but we want to be very watchful of that. So net, we looked at it. We don't foresee that there's per se cost savings. We think there's the other thing we want to work on with Chris Courtney is a more rigorous 5-year road projection and updated annually. And in fact, Dave and Chris are going to be working on some support. There's an outside firm that may even help enhance that process a bit, but we want to formalize that a little bit more. So net, very, very happy with CW Courtney. I think it was a very rigorous process. I know the mayor really appreciated it and be happy to have said, gee, we found big pockets of cost savings, but that's not what jumped out at all. But again, a confirmation that we're getting very good engineering services.
Thanks for all your hard work.
Thank you.
Thanks to the
Thank you.
committee.
Any other, Sandra?
Positively Gates Mills. I would say that the village's fortunes have improved drastically over the last couple of years in terms of housing. I remember sitting around the table being concerned about the aging housing in the village and long turnover time. So that's changed dramatically like it has in so many other communities. And we have the benefit of so many new residents in the village and houses turning over within days. So in light of that, Positively Gates Mills and the community club have taken a look at our welcome program for new residents. And so there's a couple of things that are going on that I think are of note. And one is that when houses do transfer, Charlene Stratzhofer, our police officer, does reach out to the new resident and talks with them about the services of the village, make sure that they know about reverse 911 and Gates Mills Connect. She gets phone numbers and email, tells them about the key, the key program. You can leave your key for when you're out of town, et cetera. And it gives them those preliminaries and brings that information back. The second thing is that we have a volunteer in the community, Susan Oros, who's the head of IT in the Human Resources Department at Medical Mutual, who's going to help Jean Mish work on the website and kind of beef up some of the things that are there for residents and new residents. And finally, Janet Allwater and Lisa Reed are going to be hosting with the community club a new resident social on October 22nd. It's a Friday. It'll be from 6:30 till 8. And the intent of that is really to have new members and new residents interact with one another. So there'll be invitations going out to people who have moved here in the last year. But then some things in Gates Mills Connect, and certainly if somebody's been here a couple of years and they feel like they're a new resident, they're certainly welcome. But the primary invitation will go out to those that are here in the new year. And we'll have information for them about different village activities. But again, the primary intent is for them to interact with one another.
How do we
So-
determine who are the new residents?
Well, from the listings and the sales as they're recorded at the auditor's office. So we do have names and addresses, so we can send them invitations.
Council will be invited?
You know, that's a good question. Will council be invited?
Microphone, Nancy, what did you ask?
Whether council would be invited.
We're thinking about the attendance. Last time this was held and it'll be held here in the community club since it's been, or community house, since it's been renovated. We think it's a nice feature of the village to promote. When it was done before, there were many, many people from the different community organizations and village leaders. And it was not as easy for the new residents to really kind of connect with one another. So we're still talking about, the size, and I guess depending on how many new residents are going to RSVP, who would be invited. So I don't want to say yes or no, that's still being discussed. What do you think?
I think we should come. I think they'd like to meet the leadership.
Okay, good.
I came to the last one.
I know.
Okay. Ann?
I'd like to give an update on the huge composting committee. And in the most recent pink sheet, there was a piece on Rust Belt riders. And we have had a good response, but we could use a bigger response. So please, anyone who's interested, please go to the link that's listed and learn a little more about Rust Belt riders and the opportunity for Gates Mills residents.
How many do we need for that?
40, I think. Mhm, and how
Have we
many-
gotten close to that or?
Not right on the brink, but we're getting there.
Will you
Ed?
be having something else? in
The
the-
Friends of the Gates Mills Library had to cancel their annual dinner this year. I guess the COVID scare has gotten to everybody here, so we have low enrollment, so we'll probably do it next year.
When was that announcement made, Ed? I know Janet, my wife, was planning to very much go to that.
When was it made?
Yeah, was that just recent that they decided that?
I've gotten 2 emails. I don't know.
Okay.
I'm on the board, but
It's just this past week, I think they
it just
decided.
happened,
Oh,
I
wow,
believe,
okay.
yesterday, and.
Okay, well, we were out of town, so maybe Janet hadn't.
Yeah,
seen
no,
that.
it's recent.
Okay, thanks.
Any other reports? Okay, we'll move on. Police Department.
Thank you, Mayor, members of council. Everybody should have received a copy of my monthly report. I'll be happy to take any questions you may have. One item I did want to bring up, it just occurred over the weekend, and I forgot to mention this to the mayor because I thought she would be interested, but I'll bring it up here now. So we had a resident report some property damage over the weekend up on Old Mill. And through our investigative techniques and using the flock cameras, we were able to identify the hit skip driver. And we tracked him down and the vehicle down at a repair shop. So we have charges pending against this gentleman. So
Wow, great.
direct result of those flock cameras that we have installed throughout the village. And that was Saturday morning. And the one other thing that I wanted to mention, we are having a crime prevention meeting here at the community house. We have that scheduled for Monday, October the 11th at 6 p.m. And we are doing this in partnership with Honey Valley. Honey Valley is inviting their residents as well. We have Officer Newsman from our agency and Sergeant Nick Fatigue from Honey Valley. They've been doing all the work behind the scenes on this. And so we're going to go ahead and, certainly it's going to be in the pink sheet. And it'll also be going out via Gates Mills Connect and, the other means that we have available to us as well. So we're hoping for a nice turnout.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Service Department, Dave?
Thank you, Mayor and members of council. You should have received a copy of my monthly report. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. I do have a couple items just to give you a little bit of an update. In my report, the fourth item I indicated was we had our EPA inspection of the wastewater treatment plant. We received no violations, but one slight recommendations. I wanted to let you know the service department did complete that change. We took a picture of it and sent it to the EPA inspector, and he is fine with the change we made to the plant. So we're all clear on that.
Hey, Dave.
Yes.
So interesting then that we've been, what, maybe 6 months with the new firm that,
Mhm.
and so the EPA came in and found everything was fine. That's a nice confidence that
Yeah.
our new firm is.
Yeah. Yeah. This was a result because our permit for the plant's coming up. We have a renewal, I think, the beginning of next year. So that's typical. The inspector will come out prior to the renewal of the new permit and just check to make sure that, you know, we don't have anything that shouldn't be there. So again, it was not a violation. It was just merely a recommendation. We took care of it. And he is happy with the work that we completed. So.
It's also great to see the cost of salt has gone down.
Yes, that was huge. I know I think we talked about a little bit last month, but I didn't really have the hard numbers in my head. So I did want to make sure you had the accurate and the correct numbers. Two other items just to kind of get you up to speed. Obviously, I'm sure you've seen the contractors have been in doing our paving for this year's road program. They're probably about 95% done. They have a little bit of work to finish up on County Line. I would hope that might be this week, but with the forecast, that may not happen. So it may bleed a little bit into next week. You also may have noticed we had them, the service department did the initial work. We had them pave some additional spots out in front of the post office. I think we all agree we could probably use a few more spots. So we did get the service department did all the prep work. And then once the contractor was in with the asphalt, we just asked him to do the paving. We'll get that striped probably within the next week or two. But that we should be able to pick up at least 2 spots for our parking. The Mayfield Road, as you can see, is pretty much done. We're still waiting on the poles, the masts, and the new lights. I haven't been given a date yet. Like so many things right now, things are behind in delivery and manufacturing. As far as I know, ODOT says the contractor should still complete the project by the end of October, which is the contract deadline, but we'll have to wait and see on that. We did receive from the contractor the Opticon strobes, which we did get installed on both the police and the fire trucks. Those are the ones that if an emergency vehicle is approaching the intersection, the strobe turns red for everybody else, but gives the green for the emergency vehicles. So we did get that installed on 5 of the police cars and 5 vehicles for the fire department. That concludes everything I have.
I had one question about Riverview.
Yes.
Last time I was riding down there, it looked like perhaps a base was put in. And
Yes.
they're waiting to finish.
Yes.
Has that been finished?
That was finished yesterday, I believe. Yep. It's all done.
Great.
Turned out great. Turned out really good. That concludes everything I have. Thank you.
Next is Fire Department. Tom?
Thank you, Mayor and members of council. You received a copy of the fire department report, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
I have a quick question, Tom. We keep having the burnt food problem. So I was wondering, is it something related to the placement of their detectors? Is there anything we could recommend to avoid some of those wasteful trips?
Let me be delicate about this. The detectors are, these are residential detectors. And if you have a photoelectric type detector, it is less prone to going off. If you have the old ionization type, they do false alarm. But again, a lot of these issues, there's enough smoke because of the way
the cooking is being done. But
Wow.
They should be going off. There are many times where the fire department actually puts fans in place to evacuate the smoke from the structure. So
Oh, geez.
it's a cooking issue.
Maybe.
You know, it's probably not so much a technology issue with the type of detector. It's more the fact that if you burn the food bad enough, any detector is going to go off. And that's
Just a thought.
unfortunately what we see. It was a very busy month, as you could see from my report. Lots of times when we have busy months like this, it's storm related. And in this case, we did have one storm come through and it generated maybe 6 of these calls, but the rest were just individual incidents. I also want to mention one thing, October 5th at 7 o'clock, the fire department is going to be hosting a Touch a Truck event. I was contacted by the local Cub Scout pack. And in an effort to support them, we said we would host a Touch a Truck. And that'll be open to anyone. So we'll get that information out too. Many communities do this. So we're combining that with our regular scheduled drill night. So we'll already have personnel here. So if you're available on the 5th at 7 o'clock, come down. And I know most of you have touched at least the new truck when we pushed it in. If there are no other questions, that concludes the fire department.
Question.
Yes.
Are you investigating the response time problem we're having with Mayfield Village on the ambulance?
I was contacted about response times. I have started investigating, and it's difficult because the claims for these calls are 5 years old. In the one case, it's 5 years old. The other one, I don't have a good address to go from. So I've reached back to the person that asked for that information saying, you got to give me some more information. I can't investigate it because the address you're using doesn't exist.
Well, there were supposed to be 2 just last week.
I'm not aware of those, that there's a problem. It was never brought to my attention.
Response times.
Well, again, the one that I have gotten all the information on, well, there's 2 at one address. Response time was about 8 minutes for one and about 11 minutes and 47 seconds for the other. But when you look at where the ambulance is coming from and responding to, is it ideal? No. If there are no other questions, that concludes the fire department report.
Thank you. Okay, next is resolution 2021-30. Ann,
I'd like to introduce Resolution 2021-30, a resolution accepting the rates as determined by the Budget Commission and authorizing the necessary tax levies and certifying them to the county auditor. And I move to suspend.
Second.
Allworder,
Yes.
Frankel,
Yes.
Zog,
Yes.
Turner. Yes. Welsh,
Yes.
Whitney.
Yes. This resolution is housekeeping so that we can gather our tax funds. I move to approve Resolution 2021-30.
Second,
Allworder,
Yes.
Frankel,
Yes.
Zog,
Yes.
Turner,
yes,
Welsh,
Yes.
Whitney.
Yes.
thank you. Next is resolution 2021-31. Chip,
Yes, this is a resolution of consent and cooperation to the Ohio Director of Transportation to complete a road resurfacing project as described herein and declaring an emergency. And the road project is on Som Center from Cedar to Mayfield. It'll be the Gates Mills half of that, our side of it. This does not cost us anything, and this work will be done, we think next spring is what they're estimating, but we need to give them the authorization. So I think we should move to a suspend, Dave. Do we want to give them that right after this meeting? Okay, so first I move to suspend.
Second.
Second,
Alberter,
Yes.
Frankel,
Yes.
Sog,
yes.
Turner,
Yes,
Welsh,
Yes.
Whitney.
Yes,
And just for clarification, since it seems to come up from time to time and may even be a topic tomorrow night, when any legislation that we go through, any resolution, the need to suspend could be because of the time frame that we have to have that action taken that quickly. And then the second is to declare an emergency, which means that it becomes effective right after this meeting rather than having to wait the required 30 days. So people sometimes get very confused on those two factors. As far as this resolution, I now would like to move to approve the resolution and declaring an emergency.
Second.
Alberter,
Yes.
Frankel,
Yes.
Sog,
Yes.
Turner,
yes,
Welsh,
Yes.
Whitney.
yes.
Okay. Okay, next is resolution 2021-32. Nancy?
Resolution number 2021-32, a resolution authorizing the mayor and the clerk to enter into a lease agreement with Howard Hanna for space at 1501 Chagrin River Road. This is a reduction in the amount of space that Howard Hanna has in the Mills Building. Their lease actually has expired. And this new lease will be for a term of 3 years, which will have commenced on September 1st. The amount of space that Howard Hanna is now taking is 296 square feet on the second floor of the Mills Building. Howard Hanna has a right to extend the term of the lease for 1 year if they give us notice, and then the rent will be raised to $790 per month from 700 and I think it's 40. And that will be an annual rental of $8,880. They will retain the right to have a sign outside of the Mills Building. And otherwise, it's pretty much of our standard leases. So I would move to suspend since the lease has already expired, and I guess they finally came to terms on what the new lease will be.
Second.
Alberter,
Yes.
Frankel,
Yes.
Sog,
Yes,
Turner,
yes,
Welsh,
Yes.
Whitney.
Yes,
and I move to adopt resolution 2021-32.
And did you
Second.
need to declare an emergency on this?
She did already.
No, I move to suspend.
Okay.
I guess there isn't an emergency in the legislation, but I suppose we should have one.
Retroactive September 1, but if you wish to put an emergency in, that's fine.
Well, why don't we leave it out in that way? We won't have passed it as an emergency.
I have a question. Could you just comment on what the space was previously and could you comment on what the space was previously and what the rent was previously?
The size of the.
Yeah, the space.
They had the first floor is
1,100
about,
square feet? I think it was 1,100 square feet, if I remember correctly.
Okay, and the rent is at,
well, that's a really old lease. Do you have the numbers, Janet?
I don't. I don't
Yeah,
have it with me.
It was a holdover from when the Harvey Ottman had the building and they
Right.
had a 20-year lease. So
right. So I was just curious on how
it's an
much of an
extremely
improvement it is for
it's
the
an
village.
improvement in the lease terms. Yes.
Are they still on the first floor too?
No,
Was that empty now?
it's now empty.
So it's for rent?
Correct. Would you like to rent it?
Sure.
When you say it's way down, Janet, what do you mean? The number of square feet is way down?
Well, it's a
or-
lot
No, not
less
per
because they're
square
only
foot. They're
taking
having a smaller
296
space.
Wait a
feet.
minute, I can't hear three of you at the same time.
They're only taking 296 square feet
Okay,
from 1,100.
from 1,100. Okay,
Yeah, I think that is.
okay, okay.
It's been a couple months now. I'm not
How are we marketing the additional space that's available now?
Warren is working on that. And actually, he's got a couple new people involved on the committee. And they came up with some ideas at the meeting.
How many square feet then would be for rent?
On the first board, 1,100.
1,100? Okay, thank you. I missed that.
Did we have a second on the motion?
I'll second.
Allworder,
Yes.
Frankel.
Yes.
Sog,
Yes.
Turner,
Yes,
Welsh,
Yes.
Whitney.
Yes. Okay, next is business from the audience. Could you stand and speak into the microphone and state your name and address, please?
I may have to speak softly because I just had some oral surgery about 2 hours ago.
Oh,
So
geez.
half my face is numb. So I'm going to do my best.
That's okay.
For those of you who don't know me, my name is Jerry Warsaw. Some of the people in the room know me. Chris, Chief. Dave knows me from phone calls over the last 22 years. I live at 1420 Cardinal Lane. I've been a resident, my wife and I have been residents here for 22 plus years. The reason I came tonight was I wanted to talk about probably the third issue on Mayfield Road. Tonight I heard about safety. But my home backs up to Mayfield Road. My home, and I understand there's maybe 16 or 17 total homes that back up to Mayfield Road or near Mayfield Road. The noise disturbance along Mayfield Road has just grown significantly. There was noise when we moved there. We knew where our property was located. But I will tell you that the noise has gotten so bad that there are times where we don't even want to sit outside. I want to give you some of my observations. We've noticed that speeding obviously has increased, and we have statistics to support that. The amount of commercial truck traffic has increased as well. I can't give you statistics. I just know I hear the trucks going up and down constantly. The number of emergency vehicles and ambulances and sirens is more than we've ever experienced. And I don't know if that's because Hillcrest is now a trauma 2 center. I don't know why they have to use the sirens so often. But perhaps the chief could, understand that. I don't know. We are constantly hearing vehicles colliding on the curb. That's something I don't understand, but we hear cars accelerating going down the curb, and then you hear squealing when they hit the curb. I'm surprised they haven't flipped. And as I mentioned, the decibel levels are significant. We've actually measured them from our screened-in porch that I don't know if it's 100 feet away from the road or 200 feet from the road, but we've had decibel ratings in the 80s and 90s just from vehicles going up and down. I don't understand the noise ordinance in the village, but this is obviously a big issue. Many years ago, and Dave, maybe you have the answer to this, but there was a lot of dense foliage on Mayfield Road, specifically along my property line. And I don't know if the village cleared that out or the state cleared it out, but a lot of it was cut down. And we believe that had some impact as well. Some of my other observations is that there's no visible enforcement of speed by the state. I've never seen state police up and down Mayfield Road. And in talking with Chief Minicello, he's explained to me the limits of our resources, what they can and cannot do. The reason I'm here tonight is, number one, we can't peacefully enjoy our property anymore. There are many times we have to sit inside. Now, we don't hear as much inside because we have a well-built house. I've invested a lot of money into this home. And my home is current. And I know there was a comment about the aging homes in Gates Mills. We've maintained our home. And we've invested a tremendous amount of money in it. one of the primary reasons we moved to Gates Mills, we moved here from Orange, is because we loved Gates Mills. We loved the setting. But it's not that peaceful little village that, we moved into 22 years ago. So it's had a negative impact on our property financially, as well as our ability to use it. So I'll just conclude, I would like council to consider what I have to say tonight. And if there's a way to add this as a third issue on Mayfield Road, it's not just safety. It's not just, what ODOT and all the numbers. It's about residents here not enjoying where they live and the negative impact it's having on their property values. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to.
Yeah,
Answer.
can I ask you a question?
Sure. You mind if I sit down?
No, that's fine. And I'm anguishing with you talking after your oral surgery, but when you see along freeways, and there just did one along 271, they put up those big, I guess they're concrete, I don't know, which are noise, to prevent the noise. Would that, if that were possible, would that work, or would that be right in your backyard, or?
Well, that's a good question. I just spent probably $20,000 on putting material along my fences. I have maybe 850 feet of fence line, and I invested in an acoustical material on the fence that is supposed to reduce the decibels. It reduced it a little bit, but not enough. Would it help? I'm sure it would. I don't know how tall it needs to be. I don't know what type of landscaping we have to create so you don't see a wall. But right now, we have a 6-foot fence. I was told many years ago I can't go above 6 feet because of city ordinance. So right now I invested heavily in this acoustical material, but the acoustical material is not fixing the problem. It's only lowering it down to like 80 decibels. So.
I guess I'd like to comment also. You could come to the Planning and Zoning Commission to get a variance to put in a higher fence, if that would be useful. Just a suggestion. But I also want to investigate your idea of further screening. I don't know why trees were taken down. So that's something our service department can look into and bring to us for a recommendation to council to add screening. I'm having trouble picturing exactly where you are, so I want to, but I think we'd be happy to come out and make a site visit.
I would love you. Yeah.
I mean,
we out there.
We want to help our residents any way we can. So I'm so glad you brought this to our attention, that there's much more than just the safety factor that we've been looking at now, and that's really important.
So my property begins, I don't know, Dave, maybe 200 feet from West Hill, on the south side, and it extends down to, so my house used to be Governor Lauschi's old house, if anybody knows that history. And then we bought it from the former owner and did some major renovations and additions to it. So if that gives you any reference to where it's at, we hear everybody slamming on their brakes at the traffic light.
Oh,
What
sounds
amazes
horrible.
me is that people take off heading down the hill and they accelerate going down the hill. And I'm not sure why the state ignores that strip of road from a safety standpoint.
Maybe we can ask the state for some input on this, on how to, I think reducing with cameras and whatnot, that's the data that came to us about how many cars travel on Mayfield and the speeds that they're going. I mean, it's like right there, the times by every hour. It's quite interesting. I encourage you to come next month for the presentation. I think you'll find it pretty dramatic. We did at the safety meeting. I'm hopeful that that will help, but maybe we can also talk to the state and see if they have some recommendations. It can't be the only road that has sound issues. So maybe they have something they've done somewhere else. We can certainly ask the question, and thank you for bringing it.
And it's more than just his residents. I mean, because it's certainly concerning his concern alone, but if there are 16 or 17 houses, I'm sure there's a few others that are
Oh,
experiencing the
absolutely.
same thing. So,
as well as other areas in the village, Chip, because we have had other complaints of that. Maybe our law director could give us some guidance, because I think there are some decibel levels that the state has ordinances about. I don't know if that's something you want to investigate.
And so does Gates Mills. The problem is having someone with the apparatus at the time to record it. And these are vehicles. It's not a sustained noise.
Right. So my understanding, if some of these are motorcycles, that there's motorcycles that have been aftermarket mufflers that have been added that can be easily identified visually, and which are illegal. And so you don't even have to have a decibel reading. It's just a matter of identifying.
And the other issue is, as the chief has explained many times, is actually having officers out there,
Microphone closer.
having officers there to enforce
True.
the particular noise ordinance. So
Well, hopefully the safety cameras will, or the speed cameras will help with some of that, but certainly noise is a
Yeah, can
issue.
we investigate too, who took the foliage down? Because that foliage does help.
We did. The service department did, we took down the bed because it's a safety when it comes down on the car in a storm, so we had to peel it back. To make it safe for the motors.
It wasn't all dead that was taken away. There's a lot of green foliage that was removed.
But again, it's a hazard if it falls on the vehicle, so we had to make it a clear path.
On the south side
Yes,
of Mayfield, again, as you're going down,
as you're going.
going east down the hill.
Yes, yes. So one other comment just about the commercial truck traffic. We have the same commercial trucks that are going back and forth constantly on Mayfield Road. I can give you lots of names. And they're the same trucks that make a tremendous amount of noise. Some of them are quieter as they go down the hill with their engine brakes. Some are extremely loud, as if they don't even have mufflers on their Jake brakes. So I don't know if there's something that can be done talking to the local, businesses that come through here, but they're contributing to a tremendous amount of noise. I used to be in the trucking business, so I understand how these trucks make noise.
Thank you for coming. Do you want to,
Oh, yeah. I just have a different take on it because I'm.
Could you give us your name
state your name and address?
and your address?
I'm Lisa Pillis, 6932 Mayfield Road, right by St. Francis Church. And honestly, I always think it's quiet. I'm going to be honest with you. We have the church bells, which I like. I'm used to that. I don't even hear them. You do hear trucks and stuff, but you are on a main road. I mean, it's a state highway. I'm kind of surprised to hear you say that because honestly, I don't notice a lot of noise. My house isn't set real far back, but it's set far back. And I mean, honestly, I don't see what they could do that much. I mean, the trucks are still going to go down there. We're not on a quiet street, we're on Mayfield Road. I really don't hear, I hear sirens, but I got the hospital right next to me, and that's not going to change. Doesn't even bother me. But I'm really kind of surprised to hear you say that. Where on Mayfield Road are you then? Right by West Hill?
Happy to talk to you maybe outside because
Oh, yeah, no,
made my presentation.
I'm just saying, okay, I'm just saying, I'm just saying, I'm really surprised to hear that. I don't think there's a lot you could do on a major highway. It's a highway.
Well, the traffic has certainly increased over the years on Mayfield Road, and maybe there is something we can do. We can control the speed a little better by this camera presentation that's going to come in October. We'll look into it.
Yeah. I'm not a fan of all the cameras, though.
The issue where Mr. Warsaw lives is Mayfield Road is substantially lower than where his house is located, so he's in the cut section. The other residence is where it's flat.
Oh, so the noise crawls up.
Coming up the hill, it's probably being bounced off the rock surface on the other side of the street and coming over, so you make that two different directions. Usually sound walls reflect the sound up into the sky to get rid of it. They don't absorb it or anything like that. So
Well, the state certainly puts those on other streets. Maybe they would do that.
Right, they're designed to reflect the sound up, so it's whether or not they would be effective here is all a matter.
I'll say federal highway. I've never
All we
seen
can do is ask them. Let's ask them. Any other questions? Move it
short.
down. You can turn it down. Pull it to you. Pull the top down to you.
Oh.
There you go.
Okay. I also live on Mayfield Road. My name is Caitlin
Your name?
Nemistill.
Your name?
Caitlin Nemistill, 1140 Chagrin River Road at the corner of Mayfield and River. I am the southwest corner, which is probably the loudest part of Mayfield. But since it's our backyard and we chose to live there, we added trees and whatnot to keep the sound out. I don't think it's, if you choose to live somewhere, I don't think it's really the community's responsibility to, spend more money for not being able to sit in your backyard. I mean, you chose to live there. And also, our family business has trucks going up and down Mayfield Hill. It is a highway. Yeah, speed's the issue, but I don't think you can, alter the route of these businesses. I think that's kind of just ridiculous. So that's my take. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else? Want to stand up, Mike?
Karen, I sent some questions in earlier. I sent some questions in earlier. I didn't think I'd be able to attend tonight, so. we
If
could
you want to
handle it-
ask them, go right ahead, Mike.
Well, I don't, if you give me a copy of them, I'll be happy.
Well,
to read
sure
them.
we will.
Or if you like, I'll just wing it. Thank you. I guess I'm curious where we are on the structural deficit. We had a committee this year that did a lot of work, a lot of good work. I haven't seen the report. I don't know if there
I
is
brought
one.
one for
but-
you, Mike.
But at any rate,
You
the
wanna give
problem,
that to him,
the
Dave?
problem apparently isn't solved because the deficit has gone up from 450,000 to 600,000. So the committee, despite doing some good work, the problem's still out there. Meanwhile, the new treasurer stands up every report and says we don't have a problem. So I'm confused. Do we have a problem or don't we have a problem? And what, if we do have one, what are we going to do about it?
You can, sure.
So the village, as I've put in writing twice now, including comments to you and comments that I sent on August 31st to the anonymous residents of Gates Mills, who we don't know who those people are because they send out newsletters, and when you respond, when you don't get answers to your response, the short answer is the village is in good shape. The village has got $7.5 million of cash. We have more cash. We have 12 months worth of operating needs cash. We have $9.9 million when you consider all the funds. There's a lot of conversation and bad information, and frankly, maybe it's politically motivated about how our financial position is. We are in a good position. And frankly, people running around saying we're not are making noise. Now, what you're referring to, let me finish before you talk, because that would be respectful. No, you were pretty much ready. So the background is this. In September of 2020, the Long Range Planning Committee did a fair amount of work and involved, from what I could tell, over 40 or 50 different citizens on 3 different subcommittees. They created a report that is now on the village website. It may have not been there in the past. I don't know why that was. I wasn't in this position at the time, but the report actually wasn't on the website. If it was somewhere in the council meetings. So you can actually get the report and read it. The report concludes something to the effect that there is imbalance in future forecasted revenues and expenses. As people on that committee looked at what they saw for the next 5 years, they assumed that there'd be no increases in revenues and there'd be increases in expenses. Well, anybody that has an adding machine can figure out that if you don't add more to the top line and you keep adding to the bottom line, okay, that's going to give you a negative result. Now, why they made those assumptions, how conservative they were, what the final number was, et cetera, all a matter of debate. The report actually says, the report does not even cite a number. It attaches a lot of projections from which people can grab numbers. There's actually not a number in the written report that says what the deficit is or isn't. The report says essentially that the village is in good shape. I can get it out and read it to you if need be. And that it has the time to prudently take a look at the options that they've laid out in that committee report. And that those options, both revenue and expense options, ought to be evaluated and acted on. So there is no looming problem here. There is an imbalance in the forecasts that were created over a year ago. By the way, those forecasts have all proven, in some cases on the revenue side, to be off. We have received more revenue in both income tax money, and we've controlled our expenses well. So the forecasts, first of all, they're a year old. Secondly, people are taking numbers from those reports and making their own conclusions. That's dangerous. Number three, the written report has no numbers cited and does not use that term. What it does say is there's an imbalance in future forecasted revenues and expenses. So the focus now is let's take a look at those revenue and expense options that were put together by over 40 citizens. Let's get to the Budget and Finance Committee to take responsibility for leading the evaluation of those and considering those financially. And then we can have actual facts to talk about using 2021 numbers and 22 numbers that we foresee, not information that's over a year old.
Well, I'm very comforted to hear you say there's not a problem going forward. I guess I'm a little confused why we'd look at the options if we don't have a problem, but I don't mind looking at the options, so that's okay with me.
Mike, for the record, could you please state your name and address?
Oh, sorry. Michael Press, County Line Road, 2040 County Line Road to be precise.
Thank you.
You look at the options because 40 villagers spent a fair amount of time and brain power helping the village take a look at what could we do differently or better. What could we do to cut our expenses? What could we do to increase revenue sources? What more could there be? It'd be an insult to not take those efforts and put them to work. So we're going to look at all those options. Some may fit, some may not. Many are already underway. The traffic cameras, the mayor's court, the wastewater treatment plant. So I think after that report was issued, again, I was not here on September 20, but I've done a fair amount of conversations and research the last month. Those options are still on the table. And I think as we put together the Budget and Finance Committee meeting over the next month, we'll take a look at those options and evaluate them. And be happy to report back out to the certainly to council, the mayor, and to the constituency.
And also to make note, when we put a report or something up there, the numbers can change, but what was put up there is a public record. So we can't just go in and tweak it. It's got to stay there. And if we want to put up a new record, then we put up a new record, correct? So that's part of it also. Any other questions?
I just want
I would just add real quickly, we're going to increase, Mike, to your point, for example, having a report not have been obvious to people. It should have been. Okay, the committee did a lot of work. The report should have been on the public record, and it's there somewhere. Maybe it's buried, but it's not. And so then people start looking for it and they can't find it. And they think there's something going on. So part of what I hope to do with the Finance Committee and the Budget and Finance Committee and the Treasurer's Office with Janet's help is provide a little more transparency. We'll have a few more Budget and Finance Committee meetings. My reports are all going to be written and they're all going to be on the website. Anyone that wants to have a question on the financial aspects of the village is welcome to certainly ask council, the mayor, or me. And we're also going to probably try to have maybe Budget and Finance committees maybe 3 or 4 times a year versus twice a year. I think a little more governance, a little more transparency could be helpful.
Any other questions? Just pull it down toward you.
Dorothy Shulman, 6739 Gates Mills Boulevard. I'm here because many of us on Gates Mills Boulevard are very concerned about the speed limit on Gates Mills. And a couple others are very concerned about 91 also. There's mornings that I'm coming back at 7 o'clock from St. Francis And I would think somebody is going to run me off the road because they don't like that we have made it a 1-lane road and they want to push you out. And I'm going 35. I put my turn signal on to say I'm going in my driveway. And sometimes I think they want to make me feel very threatened. And then we have some people that are driving sports cars and using it as a raceway. So we have suggested that you can use my driveway anytime you want to sit there and give tickets. But then on the other side of the road at night, when people are coming back, that's the other side that you have to really give tickets out. Because maybe that will solve the problem. But they're ignoring the signs at both ends that say it's a lane road. They pretend it's not. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Karen, if I can be recognized again for 1 second. To second what Dorothy said, I mean, my wife used to ride her horse from basically Mayfield Road downriver to the North Chagrin Reservation. I wouldn't, over my dead body, let her do that now. And up on County Line where I now live, same problem. There are people going down there 50, 55, 60 miles an hour on a regular basis.
No questions. The increase in cars and speed is definitely a problem. Anyone else? What? Oh, no question. Anyone else? Okay.
Move to adjourn?
Allward,
Yes.
Frankel,
Yes.
Sog, Turner, Welsh, Whitney.
Yes. Being facetious or are you being kind? Okay.